I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Well, that was a famous scene from the 1976 movie Network. And more than 35 years later, not much has changed. Americans are fed up. Look at this, a new AP poll. President Obama isn't trusted on most major issues, and the anti-DC mood doesn't stop there. An NBC Wall Street Journal poll says 60% want every member of Congress booted out of there, and 78% think the country is headed in the wrong direction. So what's the root of all of this? In a country founded on the idea of liberty and freedom, 88% think the government runs the people, and only 8% think the people run the government. So, Kimberly, throw all the bums out. I do think there is a sentiment.
Can I pick the bums?
You can pick the bums. But I think that people who aren't following this as closely as Brian Kilmeade on his iPad right now, like a total...
I wanted to make sure you guys knew that
listen,
this deal was
he's going back to college online for Politics 101.
So there's a mood, obviously, of discontent and distrust. But I also have to say, you know, you elected this president, this administration, so it's a little bit of what, buyer's remorse. People are upset. You're upset with the whole mix. So then do something about it the next time you have the ability to exercise your vote. That's what I think.
Did you really just say that?
Yeah, I did.
Can I ask you a question on polling? But, Bob, isn't the issue that even though most people see a problem with Congress and Washington, D.C., they don't apply it to their own personal member of Congress?
No, I was just about to say something. This time, for all the years I've done polling, that's always been the case, where they separate out, they're mad at Congress, but they love their member of Congress. This time around, not only in this poll, but in individual polls you're seeing from around the country, what were safe Democratic seats and safe Republican seats are beginning to erode in the face of all this. Now, it may be short-term memory and it'll fall back in by next year. It's a long time. But I have never, in all the years I've done politics, I've never seen numbers like this, and it'll tell you how bad it is. But Obama, yes, sure, Obama's been taking hits for
His numbers
months.
aren't good
but
either.
this is about overall the Congress, both Democrats and Republicans. I mean, to be down at 9%. Hell, the guy who used to break into my house would do better than that.
But this has been coming a long time, Bob, and most specifically recently since Obama's been president. Because there hasn't been an ability.
Recently in the last, since they closed the government
I'm just telling you, because there hasn't been an ability to work together. There hasn't been a president who's acted like Reagan, who would get both sides to agree or meet or come to, or even Clinton, who had his moments of doing that as well.
So what can the parties do to start winning some curry with the American people?
Well, I don't know. Remember, one of my favorite statistics from last year's election season was the Gallup poll that showed that the fewest number of people identified with either party in the history of the Gallup polls, like around 40% of people. 60% of people say that they don't label themselves as with any party. So Republicans in this 48-hour fight, yeah, maybe it looks a little bad, but for both parties going forward, maybe there are some more undecided voters that are going to be available, especially younger voters. But older voters, I think, are starting to, there's going to be a concern that entitlement reform will mean smaller benefits for them, and that's when you'll see Democrats probably take up some of those votes.
Brian Kilmeade, I conducted an internal informal poll here at the Fox News Channel. You have very high approval ratings, about 92%.
Thank you very much.
I won't tell you who the other 8%
You didn't poll me.
Did you pay her?
No, I want to let her finish. Don't interrupt her.
Can I play a montage of the president? Do you think that maybe the president talking about all these other issues instead of the most important topics of the day? Take a listen.
Until I see it, I can't have an opinion.
Well, here it is.
The Cambridge police acted stupidly. I don't know what's in Rush Limbaugh's heart. The reason I called Ms. Flute is because I thought about Malia and Sasha. When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son.
If I were the owner of the team, and I knew that there was a name of my team, even if it had a storied history that was offending a sizable group of people, I'd think about changing it.
Now, we couldn't pull the footage of him doing his ESPN brackets for basketball.
He does every year. You had 4 years to choose from.
But maybe this is a reason he wants to talk about all this pop culture stuff, but not the real issues of the day?
First, I think the New York Giants should change their name because really tall people are getting upset that they're named after the Giants, who are now 0-6. But here's the thing about the weighing in on for my reference to the Washington Redskins.
Right, we got it.
But here's the thing. The President of the United States weighs in on a lot of things, but so the American people have a lot of opinions. They put people in office and they say, do exactly what you got elected to do. And when people don't compromise, we get mad at legislators. We say, why are they not compromising? We set them up there to get stuff done, really? But you also set them up there to do exactly what they said they're going to do. Bob Becker will never do anything that Ted Cruz wants him to do. So they're not going to give in next to each other. So there's no compromise. So the people that put him in office have no right to be mad at their legislators if they don't budge on anything.
Listen, I would sit down with Ted. I would sit down.
But you would never agree on anything.
But can I make just a point
you
here
don't
about
listen
what
to our
Dana
producer,
said?
let alone
What
Ted
Dana
Cruz.
said here is that in this poll data here, it used to be we figured 40% in campaigns, 40% would be Republican, 40% Democrat, 20% would be persuadable. That number now has fallen down into the mid-20s for both Democrats and Republicans. People are Republicans and Democrats, maybe registered that way, but I'll tell you, this country is in more state of flux politically and with voters than I've ever seen it before, and nothing's going to surprise me next time.
Kimberly, could it be also the stories that we've heard this week about the government not willing to pay death benefits to military members? You know, that's
very disturbing.
Talking about sending your member of Congress to do what's required. One of the things that is required is to take care of our men and women in uniform. A number of members of Congress are calling, and TV personalities are calling for Chuck Hagel, the Department of Defense Secretary, to resign. Take a listen.
The Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, should have said, get this done. We're not going to stand for it. I think Chuck Hagel needs to think about offering his resignation over this.
People beginning with Hagel should be fired, and this needs to be corrected immediately.
Hagel, Carney, all of them, go. You don't want to serve the people, go. You can make a lot of money in the private sector. You know, I'm tired of this.
So do you think that is also a reason for frustration because nobody is held accountable?
Yes, but but think about it. For good reason, people are upset. It's one of the most shameful things that can, come out of this and have this kind of outcome where we're not honoring the military, we're shaming veterans. It's despicable behavior. It's not something I ever thought I'd see in this country. And that's what I'm trying to say in terms of the overall viewpoint of Americans' dissatisfaction with government, with Congress, with the House, with the Senate, with the presidency. It's systemic, and it comes down from the top. I would just like to see some leadership to say, let me settle this, let me work it out, and let me make the decision as commander-in-chief about what services we're going to provide.
The president's lack of leadership was shown in your series of clips before. There was, who cares what he thinks about the Redskins? Who cares what he thinks about these domestic cases that should be debated elsewhere? Number two, I think it's important for everyone to realize that you should get elected not being afraid to not get elected. If you get elected and you do what you're supposed to be doing and you don't get elected, go sleep well at night. This is not a $2 trillion job.
With all due respect to Bill O'Reilly, our colleague here, for O'Reilly, Chuck Hagel is a highly decorated veteran.
Doesn't mean
he knows what he's doing. And if O'Reilly wants to put on a uniform and go out and stand and watch someplace, fine.
To do with
Look,
it.
it does to the idea of calling for the resignation of the Secretary of Defense over that.
Because you were a hero in your 20s, it makes you a great Secretary of Defense in your 60s?
Listen,
show some leadership.
Are you telling me that over this one issue you should get rid of the Secretary of Defense?
Veteran. He should
I could understand getting rid of John Tower because he was a drunk, but this.
What are you talking about? Just stand up and show some leadership. It's not acceptable.
But I think the point
stand down
is,
a lawyer, call a press conference.
No heads have rolled on anything from Benghazi to the IRS. No one's held accountable anywhere, and people want answers.
I think asking for Chuck Hagel's resignation was extreme. Nobody should use the military as pawns. There was a mistake that was made. People worked to correct it, and I think that Republicans need to stop continuing to ask for things that are never ever going to happen.
Carino for president.
Calling for his resignation is just a little bit too much. I'm not saying I'm the biggest Chuck Hagel fan, but I do think that, okay, come on, we've made our point. Let's move on and not use the military as a
we got to go.
Bob's in love with you now.
Ooh.
And Bob can be your campaign manager.
Yeah, there's an idea.
Don't go anywhere when we